Hello, welcome back to the Ardent Wife podcast. I'm so excited that you're here, and I cannot believe we have been sharing our Christian wives' wisdom, I guess, for the 3 seasons. We are at the end of 3 seasons, and what I mean by we is my sisters, Tiffany and Jennifer. We've come week after week for 3 seasons now, sharing just different practical tools when it comes to living for Christ and being married. So we are recapping season 3. What episodes stood out to you this season?
Hey, everybody. If you like our podcast and you want to engage with us,
sign up to get quick links to our recent podcast, encouragement, and to join our latest challenge.
Go to theardentwife.com to connect with us and continue the conversation.
There were so many good ones, I would say. I really enjoy when we have guests come to the podcast. So it was really good to have Dr. K here with all his wisdom. And also I enjoyed, let's see, what was it? Should you have friends of the opposite sex? I just think that was just a good like chat among girlfriends. Let's talk about this thing.
Yeah.
And I thought it was good. And I'm probably biased, but I thought, that was some good sound advice or discipleship, I should say.
What about you, Jennifer?
yeah, I think I did like the idea of teaching and talking about the bid for connection, noticing when we're looking for attention, I still, every time, telling you, my husband says something, I'm like, am I going to answer? Am I going to not? I hear that. Is he talking to me? Is he not talking to me? Am I going to respond? So I feel like that's just the good work that we get to do. So I loved unpacking that. I really liked resiliency in marriage and just to give people hope, because I remember the earlier years of my marriage where it was hard. And I remember clear times where I just said, you know what, this is what it is. And I just don't have any hope. So I remember what it felt like to have no hope. So to encourage people to not give up, right? To hold on, to fight through that, and to think about and talk about that was encouraging. Living out your calling and was great. And I think understanding what that means in marriage. And then I loved also talking with Dr. K, Dr. Kerouac. I appreciated not only his advice when it came to the physical body, but the things he said at the end of that episode about, if it all said and done, if we were to see our lives the way God sees it, we would ask for the same thing that's happening to us. And then the monotony of taking one foot in front of the other, one step. And I feel that way about our health. And I also feel that way about our marriage. And I had fun doing the what would you tell your younger self? And I also, Dee, I love you, but I love the beginning of that when you were like with the jealousy where you were like, I would cut someone. I love that. Tiffany, you being like, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. This was a fun season.
It really was.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a lot of what we talked about, but I really enjoyed it. How about you, Dee? What do you think?
I agree. And I was just thinking about how we've been doing this for a year now and how God put us together and how each season we just grow and the conversations get so rich and we get to know each other. And like you guys are truly my sisters in Christ, but you're my sisters, which I love so much. And that we're just the relationship now. Like it's just conversation. We're not showing up trying to be like podcasters. We're just showing up just trying to help other women, just encourage women, and just create this community that just values the sanctity of marriage, which is like holy. It's so good. And so we have these conversations and like we can be real, like I'll cut somebody and and we can encourage each other, be like, no, you won't. Not today. And that's like because we are just creating this community here. And so episodes, the bid for connection changed Edward and I's vocabulary in our marriage. Like we actually call it out. Like, I guess I'm just bidding for your connection. And that's like an instant for either one of us to be like, okay, put the phone down. Let me pay attention to each other for a moment, or actually encourage us to bid for each other's connection. Like, Ed keeps doing weird stuff, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I guess I'm just bidding for your connection." And so it's just like it's helped our marriage grow, which is another thing that we're here to do, which I love. Um, I love the check-in for the Titus recap because, again, holding each other accountable. I'm a personal trainer, like that's what I do, and that's what we're doing here. We're like, okay, we 2 seasons ago we were like, this is what we're trying to do. How have you been doing it? And just the realness of that. Dr. K blew my mind. Like, I left that episode like so much. So, and even being a fitness professional who continually continues her education, like I'm always
Mhm.
learning and growing in education. But then also falling trapped to what I scroll and what I see and what's trending and all those things, and realizing like I really need to be more discerning in that area. And then his perspective on marriage, having a male's perspective on marriage was really so I loved what he said about his wife, and I was just that was a great episode. And then the power of communication I think was really powerful for our listeners. I had a lot of women reach out to me like, "This is so good. I really needed to hear these things," because that's not one of those things that there's like it's not talked about, and there's not a handbook, and we just really gave great practical tools. And we're all so biased. Like, this is our podcast. We love this. This is our baby here. So of course we're like, my baby's cute. But I don't know what you're talking about. But so we're obviously biased, but I really feel like getting the feedback from our community and our listeners and learning and growing together has been the great part. And then challenging each other to think about what would I tell my younger self. And I love what Tiffany said. Like, I don't know if I would tell her anything because I don't think I would be the person that I am. And we're always going, I don't know, for me, like just going into the past and like, oh, I could have done this. But all those things are what makes us who we are today. And they've just grown
Mhm.
us. So I just loved being in community with you too. So wise, so loving, so giving, and so real, so
Mhm.
refreshingly real. So I'm just happy that we've been doing this for 3 seasons, and I cannot believe, like I think I said this at the end of season 2. And if you are listening for the first time, it is time to binge. Go ahead and go back to all of our seasons and start listening. The episodes are really we try to keep them short and sweet because we know that we wanna honor your time. But I think I said it in season 2. I can't wait for season 4,
Mhm.
because I just know of the goodness because what we have planned, and then God always shows up and then just shows off and exceeds our plan. But we have Dr. K coming back, for a whole new conversation, and I think everything that's coming in season 4 is really just kind of showing our progress and how we are growing in this area of Christian marriage. And then we have a lot of great interviews. I love having people on here to share their wisdom and what they've been through and their experiences. And then we have some really real episodes like how do you get to church on time? Because as a mom of teens, and I remember when the girls were little, that's a struggle. And so I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about that, as well as our community, the Ardent Wives Club, if they have any wisdom to add to that. Because one day we will get to church on time and it will be a glorious day.
And it's funny you bring up the Art and Wives Club because that's one thing I really enjoyed about this season too, that we really focused on putting our time there. And so we were showing up consistently, in the group and just sharing, because sometimes we listen to these episodes and we record and like, oh, I should have said this, or we listen to them and we're like, I should have completed that thought, or we didn't really discuss this side of it, or we kind of feel like it was incomplete. So that gives us the opportunity to go back and to share other insights. And so I have really enjoyed that too. So, shameless plug, if you are not in the Ardent Wife Club, you should get there. I think we get very practical in there, and it's such an encouragement, I think, because we can get so complacent and, like, kind of Dr. K said, the monotony of life, and you just check out. And I think you can start taking each other for granted, or you just, it just becomes so common to you that you don't work the way you did in the beginning of your relationship. And you don't get those butterflies anymore, those warm fuzzies. And so when that flame dies out, we're there to fan that flame again and say, hey, this is a lifetime commitment. To death do you part. If you're breathing, then listen, you have
Yeah.
work to do in your marriage.
Yeah, and we're so much stronger together in community, and I just think, like, that is how the church started, the women at the well, like, really encouraging each other and growing each other, and we wanna have that. We desire that community at the well, so definitely check us out, join the Ardent Wives Club, and then, like, we want you there. We want your
Yeah.
input. This 3 boxes here, there's so much more when it comes, and we always say there's so much wisdom in there that just needs to be shared, so love for you to join us there. And we have a great incentive. So we did a bid for connection challenge at the beginning of the season. Like I said, it just added vocabulary and just depth to our relationship. And we have another challenge for 2 weeks. We usually take a little break in between seasons, and we really just want to pour into the Ardent Wives Club. So that's another reason to join us there. But we have which I love this one, Lift Him Up Challenge. And the Lift Him Up Challenge, I think, is great because my husband's love language is words of affirmation. So in 2 weeks, my husband's going to absolutely adore me. But he already does. But I think it's going to really show him how much I adore him, by just offering these words to encourage him and lift him up. And I know our family's next 2 weeks might be a little bit challenging. And so giving him these extra boosts of just giving him words from my heart to lift him up, I think won't harm a thing, and it'll be great and encouraging as we go through this transition and this new season of our life. And we're going to do that in community and grow together, and we're going to have that in the Ardent Wives Club. So we won't be sharing the Lift Him Up challenge here on the podcast the next 2 weeks. We're going to actually be sharing it in the Ardent Wives Clubs, and we'll be offering some encouragement and accountability when it comes to Lift Him Up. You guys want to add any more about the challenge?
I just think I'm looking forward to this challenge. Like you said, we don't stand before you or as podcasts, like we have it all together. Like this is just as much for us as it is for you. And I think it's important for you to see us and for us to see you, not just talking about it, but living it out. There's one thing to talk about it and give advice, but when you pull the curtain back, how are we living our day-to-day lives? And so I'm looking forward to this challenge. And I think to some level, I think all men want to be the hero. Like D, you've said before, they want to be the hero and they want to hear their wives say, you are the hero in my story.
Yeah.
And so I think this will do that for them, just to add that affirmation. And I think the world is it's such a place where you don't get that a lot. I think sometimes our husbands probably go through a lot at work and job outside the home and carrying so many different hats and responsibilities to where they need to hear that from their queens. So we are going to lift our kings up with our words, with our mouth, and to think we have the power to do that is,
It's a gift and a blessing.
yeah, for sure.
And we want to do it. We don't want to just talk, right? As a podcast, we talk, but we want to do too. We want to be in it. And I know that like anytime I try a new habit, right? It's because I got to interrupt kind of my dailiness, that monotony. So I think that will be good. And I know my husband will be encouraged. So we're not going to tell him we're doing this. We'll tell him after, or maybe not. Well,
No,
he might
right.
honey, I love you. But I just think that it will be good. So I'm excited. And on in the Ardent Wives Clubs, we're going to give daily prompts. So you guys will have daily prompts of ideas. So if you're feeling stuck or you're like, and even listen, if it's midnight and you're like, oh, I forgot to say something, write him a note, put it under his pillow, put it by the coffee maker, right? Like, I think that that's the beauty of this, is that we get to encourage one another in it and just fight for our marriages, right? Like it's worth it. So worth it.
That also made me think when you said that, Jennifer, is that I'm looking forward to the Art and Wise Club to see the creative ways women lift their husband up. Because we're going to give you the prompts
Yeah.
and then the delivery, that's up to you. And I
Mhm.
remember when we were sharing how we just kind of communicate with our husbands. And I remember like Tiffany and her husband, they get together late at night, and Jennifer and her husband, they have a date morning. And then me and Ed, we text like we're high schoolers. So, there's all different ways to
Yeah.
lift him up. So
Yeah.
we'll give you the prompts, but I would love for in the Art and Wise clubs, because I know you guys are listening, to share how you're lifting him up, what you're doing. Did you leave him a note? Did you write it on the mirror? Like all kinds of different ways. I think that'll be really cool to see the different ways that people share their love and lift their
Mhm.
husbands up.
Yeah.
So that is what is happening in the Ardent Wife podcast for the next 2 weeks. And again, if you haven't checked us out in the last 2 seasons, go back. We're there. We are wherever you listen to podcasts. And if not, go ahead and let us know, because we would love to be there too. We're also on YouTube. So you can check us out there. You can see our faces depending on where you're listening. And leave us messages, leave us comments. We really want to, this is community. It's not about like, look at us, look what we can do. We want to really see how we can serve you at our best. And yeah, so join us at the Art and Wives Club if you're not already part of a membership. It's down below in the link. Just click there and you will be approved. Check out our other seasons and like, share, subscribe, do all those things. And until next time, we are so happy to be here in community with you to cry together, laugh together, and grow closer to Jesus.